The glass-walled office of Alexander Wright stood as a testament to his unwavering philosophy. Work hard and you'll reap the rewards. As founder and CEO of Meridian Logistics, he had built his empire from scratch. No inheritance, no safety net, just relentless dedication and countless sleepless nights. His reputation throughout Atlanta's business community was formidable. Employees respected him. Competitors feared him. At Meridian, there was only one rule: you work to win. Late one evening, as Alexander reviewed quarterly performance metrics, movement in the dimly lit break room caught his eye. The building had emptied hours ago, save for the cleaning staff making their rounds. Yet there stood Elena Torres, one of his most reliable employees, the kind who never complained, never missed deadlines, and always volunteered for extra shifts. What Alexander witnessed next disturbed his carefully ordered worldview. Elena approached the cafeteria cook with uncertain posture, shifting nervously from foot to foot. Their hushed conversation was brief, ending with the cook reluctantly reaching beneath the counter for a takeout container. Relief washed over Elena's face as she quickly stuffed the package into her oversized tote bag. Glancing around furtively before hurrying toward the exit, head down, Alexander leaned back, fingers steepled before him. He wasn't one to meddle in employees' personal lives. That wasn't his management style. You worked hard, you got paid. The arrangement was simple and fair. Yet Elena worked harder than most, pulling double, sometimes triple shifts. If anyone should afford a meal, it was her. So why was she secretively asking for one? The thought gnawed at him relentlessly. Perhaps she'd forgotten her wallet. Maybe she was saving for something significant. Yet as he turned back to his reports, the numbers blurred meaninglessly. His mind fixated on that single image, Elena stuffing a takeout container into her bag like contraband. Against his better judgment, Alexander found himself following her that night. The cool evening air bit at his skin as he watched her walk toward the nearest bus stop. No car keys, no waiting ride. When she boarded, he impulsively did the same, sitting far enough back to avoid detection. The bus rattled forward under flickering lights. Elena sat slumped against the window, exhibiting not ordinary fatigue, but bone-deep exhaustion, the kind that comes from carrying too much for too long. As they traveled farther from the business district, the landscape transformed dramatically. Buildings grew smaller and older, streets darkened, sidewalks cracked, storefronts boarded up behind chain-link fences. Alexander realized he'd never truly seen this part of Atlanta, though it existed on the same maps as his gleaming corporate headquarters. Elena exited in a neighborhood of peeling paint and leaning mailboxes, a place where survival took precedence over comfort. She walked purposefully despite her exhaustion, eventually reaching a small, dilapidated apartment complex. Through yellowed curtains, Alexander glimpsed the stark reality of her life. No couch, no dining table, just a mattress on the floor, a few blankets, and a plastic crate with neatly folded clothes. Then came the moment that shattered his worldview completely. Two small heads peeked out from beside the mattress. Children. Elena knelt beside them, her exhaustion momentarily masked as she carefully opened the takeout container. The children, a boy and girl no older than 6, approached. With the urgent movements of those accustomed to hunger, she divided the meal equally between them but took nothing for herself. "Mommy, are we going to have breakfast tomorrow?" a small voice asked. Elena hesitated briefly before smoothing her daughter's curls. "Of course, baby. I'll figure it out," she whispered with a smile that didn't reach her eyes, a fragile shield meant to comfort someone else, not herself. Something shifted inside Alexander. This wasn't merely an unfortunate situation, it was evidence of a broken system. For the first time, he questioned whether hard work alone was truly enough. The next morning, Alexander sat distracted at his desk, numbers blurring into meaningless shapes. A knock interrupted his thoughts. Alina had come to see him of her own accord. She entered with the bearing of someone bracing for impact, sitting rigidly across from him, hands folded neatly in her lap. "You wanted to see me, sir?" Alexander studied her, then spoke directly. "I saw you last night." Elena stiffened almost imperceptibly. "I followed you home," he continued carefully. Her reaction was immediate, a sharp inhale, confusion flashing across her face, followed by anger. Then something colder. Her fingers curled into fists. To don't understand. I saw you take that food home. I saw your apartment. Your children. Her breath hitched, and instantly a protective wall came up. She wasn't just Elena Torres, employee. She was a mother defending her children. A fighter refusing to break. This isn't, she began, shaking her head. I'm not here to judge you, Alexander interrupted, leaning forward. And I'm not here to pity you either. Elena truly looked at him then, as if gauging his sincerity. She was accustomed to dismissal, to being told to work harder, to being seen as a problem rather than a person. I'm here because I should have seen it sooner, Alexander said, and I wanted to fix it. Elena swallowed hard, blinking rapidly. You don't have to do this, she whispered. Yes, I do, he replied firmly. Silence settled between them. Alexander reached into his desk drawer, pulling out a thick envelope and sliding it across to her. Elena's eyes flicked to it, but she didn't move. This isn't charity, Alexander said before she could protest. This is an investment in you and the people who make this company run. She still didn't reach for it. I want to raise wages, he continued, provide better hours, childcare support, emergency assistance. His voice remained steady, but carried new urgency. I need your help to do it the right way, to ensure no one else has to go home the way you did last night. Elena's lips parted, but no words emerged. Her fingers hovered over the envelope, then drew back as if burned. Why? She finally asked, not accusingly, just tiredly. Alexander exhaled. Because I built this company, and I let people fall through the cracks. I refuse to let that happen again. Elena stared at him for a long moment before slowly reaching for the envelope, gripping it tightly as tears welled in her eyes. She wasn't accustomed to accepting help or to it being offered. You don't have to do this alone anymore, Alexander assured her. Elena swallowed hard, then nodded. She stood, shoulders squaring as she held the envelope to her chest, allowing herself, perhaps for the first time in years, to hope. After Elena left, Alexander sat alone, something solid and unshakable settling deep within him. This wasn't merely about fixing a company. It was about transforming lives. He'd only just begun. He called his chief financial officer, Victoria Blake, a woman who had helped build Meridian from the ground up. Victoria, he said without preamble, I need to talk about payroll, benefits, emergency assistance programs, and I need to talk about it today. A pause. You're not one for impulsive decisions. What happened? Alexander's jaw clenched. Let's just say I finally saw something I should have seen long ago. Another pause, then keyboard clicks. All right, tell me what you're thinking. We need to raise wages, he began firmly. Not just pennies to keep pace with inflation, something real, something that actually changes lives. Victoria sighed. That's a significant shift, Alexander. Investors will push back. Let them, he replied. We're a logistics company. We move product, maintain the supply chain. The only reason we excel is because of the people on the ground in warehouses, driving trucks, pulling 16-hour shifts without complaint. I built this company believing hard work pays off. But what if it doesn't? What if we're taking more than we're giving? Victoria didn't respond immediately. When she did, her tone had shifted from skeptical to thoughtful. You're serious about this? Dead serious. More typing. All right, let's do it. I'll develop models for wage increases. Examine where we can shift funds without compromising the bottom line. You mentioned benefits too? Yes, Alexander confirmed. Childcare assistance, emergency support, perhaps tuition help for advancement. I don't want band-aid fixes, Victoria. I want long-term solutions. She laughed softly and mockingly, but with surprise. Well, looks like somebody had a wake-up call. Something like that. Give me a few hours, I'll have a preliminary report by day's end. But Alexander, this will be a fight. The board, investors, even some Monagersnet, everyone will support you. Alexander's grip tightened on his phone as he thought of Elena. Her voice barely audible when she'd said, You don't have to do this. Then we fight, he stated simply. Victoria chuckled. Damn right we do. I'll call when I have numbers. The boardroom crackled with tension as Alexander faced his investorsmen in pressed suits and women in sharp blazers who analyzed numbers but had never worked a warehouse shift or chosen between rent and food. Victoria sat beside him, prepared with color-coded projections and counter-arguments for every objection. Across the table, James Harrington, their longest-standing investor, leaned back with obvious skepticism. "Alexander, let me understand this correctly. You're proposing an across-the-board wage increase, expanded benefits, and an emergency assistance fund. Why?" "Because it's the right thing to do," Alexander replied simply, a scoff from someone to his right. "Come on," James said, shaking his head. "We don't run a charity, we run a business. Our employees already receive competitive industry wages. If we start distributing raises indiscriminately, where does it end? And what will shareholders say when profit margins decline?" Alexander's jaw tightened beneath the weight of skepticism, but he was prepared. "We run a logistics company," he stated evenly. "We don't manufacture products or develop technology to move things. The only reason we outperform our competitors is because of our ground-level personnel loading trucks, driving through the night, working extra shifts to keep operations running. They aren't spreadsheet figures, they're people. And currently, they're being left behind." Victoria slid a report across the table. "We've analyzed the numbers. Yes, this plan carries upfront costs, but turnover rates are damaging us more severely than any wage increase could. The time and resources we continuously invest in hiring and training are bleeding the company dry. Retention is crucial to growth. If we invest in our employees now, they'll invest in us long-term." Another board member, Catherine Powell, silver-haired and sharp-eyed, frowned at the report, but didn't immediately dismiss it. "You're suggesting this is about sustainability." "It's about survival," Alexander corrected. "If competition seems fierce now, wait a few years. Without cultivating loyalty now, we're finished. We can either be the company people aspire to join or the one they abandon at the first better offer." Uncomfortable silence descended as board members mentally calculated risk versus reward. Some would never be persuaded, but others were clearly considering the proposal. James folded his arms. "And if this fails? If we simply lose money?" Alexander leaned forward, his gaze unwavering. "Then I take the loss personally." The statement electrified the room. Victoria's head snapped toward him, though she remained silent. The rest of the board murmured in surprise. James narrowed his eyes. "You're saying you'll reduce your own salary?" "If necessary," Alexander confirmed. "I built this company. If we fail, I accept responsibility. But we won't fail, because I believe in this, believe in them. And if I'm willing to stake my own compensation on it, perhaps you should question why you aren't." After another silence, Catherine sighed and pushed the report back toward Victoria. "I think," she said deliberately, "it's time we consider more than just the next quarter." "I vote yes." Victoria's fingers tapped once against the tablet, a subtle sign of victory. One by one, the votes accumulated out unanimously, not without resistance, but enough to initiate change. As Alexander and Victoria exited the boardroom, she glanced up at him knowingly. "When you said you were serious, I didn't realize you meant risking your own salary." Alexander exhaled. "It worked, didn't it?" Victoria shook her head, unable to completely hide her smirk. "Yes, it did." They paused near the elevators, surrounded by the ambient hum of office activity. Beyond the glass walls, employees moved through their day-loading shipments, answering calls, sustaining the company in ways the board would never fully comprehend. Alexander surveyed them, his resolve solidified. This transcended one employee's situation. It encompassed every worker who had ever worked a double shift, every driver who had missed holidays, every person who had exhausted themselves merely to survive. He still believed in hard work, but now he believed in something more. "Who's telling the employees?" Victoria asked, crossing her arms. Alexander rolled his shoulders back, already stepping forward, ready for the challenges ahead. "I am." "You sure? This will be quite a shock." "Yes," Alexander nodded, determination evident in every movement. "I want them to hear it from me. Thank you for joining us for the transformation, a story that reminds us how one moment of genuine awareness can spark profound change. At Tales of the Heart, we believe in the power of stories to illuminate truth, inspire compassion, and challenge our perspectives on success, struggle, and human dignity. If this story resonated with you, we invite you to become part of our community. Subscribe to Tales of the Heart and activate notifications to receive more powerful narratives that explore the complexities of human experience, from unexpected kindness to life-changing revelations. Each story we share aims to foster understanding and empathy in a world that often moves too quickly to notice the struggles of those around us. Join us on this journey of discovery, one story at a time. Subscribe now. Open your heart. Change your perspective.